I suppose,
different age.
Yeah.
Fascinating, fascinating. OK, thanks for that, Al. What have you got, Yasmin?
It's interesting. We were talking. I brought a young man with me today who's at a faith-based school, and we were talking about the entry rules. Faith-based
Let me just say this is entirely above board. You didn't just snatch him from the faith-based school on the way
I just snatched him.
Right.
I just thought, you know, do something adventurous. Blonde, pretty boy, just snatch
OK, Yasmin, OK, right, so...
You've lost your thread.
That faith-based schools, and we were talking yesterday about, you know, the lottery and how to make it fairer for all parents. But faith-based schools get away with absolutely awful entry rules, and also the informal things they say. I remember once trying to get my young daughter into a primary school, a Catholic primary school, and the headmistress, before she would send me a form, said, "Oh dear, oh no, we don't want a mixed-up child in our school, Mrs. Brown." So what do you mean mixed up? Well, these mixed children bound to be mixed up, aren't they? She wouldn't even send me a form. She wouldn't send me, and my money paid for her school, you know? So there is a big thing, and I'm glad we're looking at it. But unfortunately, because in the Lords, the churches and other faith lobbies are very strong, we can't do anything. It's in the Telegraph.
So there are people that want to change entry requirements for
but they won't be able to, because every time they
because then it wouldn't be a faith-based school, would it? If you want to run a Catholic school, can you run a Catholic school if half the population is Jewish, for example?
In all over the world, during the Empire, there were Catholic and Church of England schools.
Yeah.
All parts of the world where they took children of all faiths. It was the ethos, it was the education we went for, not this rubbish.
OK, good point.
Daily Mail, a judge is very furious with this man who's called Alan Yarlett, who is a fly tipper. And the judge quite rightly said, why should this man get away scot-free when law-abiding citizens fear having a bin with a lid that doesn't close? Because, of course, lots of... so it's a good story and an important sort of position for a judge to take.
Yeah.
And this story, which I hate, in the Express, is life really all over for women by the age of 44.
Why do you hate that story, then, Yasmin?
Because it isn't over. It's only a man could have written this. Because I'm old and I'm having a very good time.
You're not old.
You're not old, don't be absurd. You're not 105 and still a virgin.
I'm not 105 and still a virgin, you're quite right.
OK, so it's all over for women at the age of 45. In fact, there's been a few articles like this saying that by the time you've gone past 40, ladies, that's it. The best
rubbish.
is behind you, yeah.
It's complete rubbish. I mean, men who lose it all and need Viagra, we're OK.
No, women are like cheese, I think. When the blue veins start showing, they're that whole bit more tasty.
You can be my friend.
David.
Thank you. This is in The Sun. Now, you may remember last year the Inland Revenue lost 25 million people's data. Do you remember all this? This is just a shocking story again. The Sun put it on page 2. The MOD has managed to lose 1.6 million pieces of personal data about the armed forces. And I just think this is shocking.
It's very personal as well, isn't it?
It's really personal data.
Names, addresses and passport numbers.
Passport numbers, also next of kin, telephone numbers, it appears. 100,000 serving personnel, their details. I mean, what is going on? How can they lose this? This was basically an IT contractor to the MOD.
Well, this is why, isn't it? There's so much subcontracting going on.
But allegedly, none of this had been encrypted. None of it, you know. So anyone who got that hard drive could plug it in and get all those details.
Makes you worry about ID cards. Yeah, what's the Tories' point of view on ID cards, David?
Completely against them.
So you would scrap ID cards if you came into power, would you?
Yes.
Would you now?
Completely against them, because it's against civil liberties. I'm completely against ID cards. It's a waste of money, and we should be concentrating putting that cash back into public services.
I think I'm going to clap for you,
Damn it!
So both Al and Yasmin are I have to say, when the bills start coming into people, I think that's going to be a very, very attractive policy, I have to say, the scrapping of ID cards.
It shouldn't be just about whether it's attractive, it's whether it's right.
Yeah, but people tend to vote by what's attractive financially.
They're never going to get that right, are they?
No.
The incompetence that will come with it.
Absolutely right.
And also it gives criminals something else to forge.
Yeah.
Creates a whole new crime industry.
Another one.
Another factory. You can put it next to the rope factory. Go on, David, what else is news?
This is in the Daily Express, page 39. When I read this, I was like, oh, not again. This chap, Peter Drew, was driving his van and he was arrested for having a scythe in his van. Now, he's a gardener, and he...
They think they'd nick the Grim Reaper?
Yes. No, they thought he
Stalin.
They obviously thought he was involved in some sort of terrorist activity where he was going to wield a scythe down the street.
There's just no common sense anymore.
They basically brought him to...
It's so badly needed.
They brought him to court. The CPS didn't drop the case, didn't have any evidence at all, but he was left in limbo for months and months and months over this. I mean, what was slightly odd was he kept the scythe, I think, in the passenger footwell, and 2 axes in a door pocket. And
maybe he wanted to kill his wife. How do we know?
Well, that's what the police thought. But anyway, you know, this is just getting ridiculous.
How do we know?
He's a gardener.
He has been cleared of everything.
There are no murderers who are gardeners?
Don't play devil's advocate.
I had a friend who was prosecuted for carrying an offensive weapon. It was his fishing priest that he uses for knocking fish over the head when he catches a trout and wants to take it home for tea. And the policeman found it when they said, car was searched, and said, oh, that's a club. He said, well, it is a club for killing fish.
Brilliant.
They did him for it, all the same. OK, David, anything else?
Then Daily Mail, page 3, I thought I'd give you an R. Look at this lovely picture. This is a picture of a sparrow, a white sparrow, which are very rare. Oh.
Much easier for people to shoot with air rifles.
Well, did you know that? Well, you may not
to see amongst the foliage.
Thank you very much for that. You may not know, but sparrows are in decline.
I'm not surprised if they're that easy to hit.
And this is
like camouflage.
Well, they're money in Iceland, is that it?
They're not normally that colour, are they?
No.
So this is a condition, a genetic... It's not an albino, actually. It's leucism, where you get white plumage, but you don't get the blue eyes associated with albinism. But anyway...
Like the bottle blonde, but in bird form, of sorts.
Yes, of sorts. Okay. Did you know that they used to eat sparrow pie?
I'm not looking at you.
I didn't know that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Sparrow pie?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the war, you used to... I didn't know that. In the First World War...
Starling pie?
Sparrow pie was prevalent.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh.
And in France, of course, still is. After the ads...